Good day. How many of our viewers have ever heard the term brain drain? You may wonder why I ask, but it's not a term that I hear so often now. We heard it more in the years after political independence, and we heard it in the 70s, even down to the 80s and maybe the 90s. There was a concern that more and more of our educated people were migrating. And the church was concerned, everyone was concerned. If all of our professionals would leave, what would happen to us? Now, the fact is that Jamaica is now 59 years independent, and in August of 2022 will be 60 years independent. Now, the fact of the matter is that certain things have got worse since independence. For example, the crime and violence. But that is not as a result of the brain drain. And the only thing that the brain drain has really affected is our healthcare. And I do not know what we would do without our Cuban doctors and our Nigerian doctors who are all over the government service today, because we would really be in a bad way. But in no other way has the brain drain really affected Jamaica. Anyone who has ever planted a garden or a farm knows that if you plant too many crops in that area, you're not going to get the sort of yield or the growth of the trees and the plants that you could get if there were less plants dealing with the nutrients in the ground. Everyone knows that who has ever planted an area. It is the same way with the brain drain. Every time that our professionals have left, we have trained maybe our second 11, maybe our third 11. And the fact is that there are a lot of advances today. And people who left Jamaica at a certain time because they felt that Jamaica was too small for them or that Jamaica was too primitive for them, have come back here on a visit and are shocked to see the amount of development that has taken place in the so-called brain drain. We have more houses today. Our people are clothed today. You know, the younger generation, even those under 50, may not know that there was a time when people wore tatters and people went to school barefoot. Underwear was unknown for men under 18, and for women, underwear was usually a flour bag. The older generation is not often going to say this because maybe they are ashamed. But what they will tell the younger generation all the time, look at the opportunities that you get today. Look at the opportunities and how you are wasting them, etc. But they will never expand on the whole business of opportunities, educational opportunities of all sorts. Today, everyone eats. Today, health is better on a whole, despite the fact that we don't have enough doctors and we rely heavily on Cuban doctors and Nigerian doctors and doctors from other places. In the 1930s, there was an English journalist by the name of Gordon Scudder who made a remark about Jamaicans. He was from England, and he made a remark about Jamaicans that was very, very true at the time. Now it's only partly true. He said the characteristics of the Jamaican people are 3 S's: staring, spitting, and sucking of teeth. We may still stare, yes. We may still suck our teeth. But the spitting, no. And the reason why there's not so much spitting, that awful, disgusting thing where everybody just spat all over the place, is that the health of our people are better. The amount of colds that they used to get, the amount of all sorts of diseases causing phlegm on the chest has played down the amount of spitting. The yards today are more healthier because people have flush toilets and not pit latrines. So, you know, having said all of that, what I think our sociologists should do at the University of the West Indies and all other sociologists, is to study this whole thing of how is it that as people or educated people have migrated to greener pastures, call it that, North America and England. How is it that despite all of that, we have advanced? How is it? Because we were all concerned at the time. The Catholic Church was saying in its document, Justice and Peace in a New Caribbean in 1975, that the high-pressure salesmanship has caused a lot of migration. And they were right. A lot of people have migrated because of the attraction to the wealth that comes, that we saw on the television. Now we see it all on the internet and so forth. There was no internet then. And it did draw a lot of people abroad. And many of them still have to go too, because if Jamaica had all of its people here, it would be 8 or 9 million instead of less than 3 million. And what would that have done for our infrastructure? Or even if some of them migrated just for one reason. They were not nationalistic at all, and they just saw the island as a life buoy. What would have happened were it not for that? But the fact is that we have advanced in many, many areas. There are more cars on the streets, for example. There are more motor vehicles. Yes, we have the internet. Well, that has come with modern technology, etc. But the mere fact that we are able to afford modern technology has shown some advances in our economy. And of course, the modern technology of the phones and so on started in the 1990s, right? It doesn't matter who was in power or anything like that at the time. The fact is that we have these advances today. And this should be part of a study. It really should be part of a study so that we can look at ourselves. I know one friend of mine who generously donates to the church camps that I normally run, that would say that the more he gives is the more that comes to him. But that's one thing. But to say that the more our people have migrated and our educated people have migrated, the more advanced we have become is quite another. Is it a miracle, or is it that it is a matter of a natural progression where if everybody gets an opportunity, the more educated, if they leave, then the ones that fall behind, they will take up the slack. Because maybe it is because nature abhors a vacuum. Maybe that is it, given the opportunities that we have. Maybe that is it. But I think that it really is in need of study. But high-pressure salesmanship is really a problem at the same time. The bishops in the Caribbean in 1975, the Roman Catholic bishops, on page 13 of their document, Justice and Peace in a New Caribbean, said, we are in danger of becoming slaves, especially by radio and television. They did not say computer and internet because we didn't really have the internet then. We are in danger of becoming slaves. Slaves of high-pressure salesmanship that makes us more in want when we have enough. Slaves of luxuries that end up as necessities. Slaves of snobbery that judges a man by what he has and not by what he is. All of those things are still true, and we must fight to stop that sort of high-pressure salesmanship so that we become real people. All of that is true. However, they also mention the crippling brain drain, and all of us were concerned. I certainly was concerned in my days as a newspaper columnist. I wrote about the brain drain because I too was worried, but it has not turned out that way.